hat, muscle tee, gym shorts, flip flops. I think we're ready for the day. Let's make it happen. Holy cow, it's snowing out here. Well, I guess that changes my plans. What's up, everybody? Braddock here. I want to talk to you guys today about how I stay warm in my van during the wintertime. Y'all check it out. All right, so we are back in the van, and it is nice and toasty compared to the 10 degrees and snowing outside. So before we actually jump into my setup of what I do to stay warm during the wintertime, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about what I've done in the past, and a good thing to start off with while getting into your van conversion. Number one is get yourself a nice mattress. The first 2 weeks, true story, all I had was an air mattress while I was building the van. The problem with that is there's no insulation value in an air mattress, and also being on the ground, that conduction was just pulling the heat straight out of me. Now this is a 10-inch queen short. I highly recommend a 10 or a 12-inch. I see a lot of video blogs, people using 4 to 6-inch mattresses, and my problem with that is you're not as comfortable as you would be at home. If you're going the whole way, doing the whole van conversion, get yourself a nice mattress that you can not only be comfortable with, but you can get off the floor to prevent conduction, and also you can have something that's well insulated. Number two, insulation on the walls, the ceiling, and the floor. So in this setup, we're using Havoc wool insulation, and it's been phenomenal. A little pricey, but during the winter and summertime when you're trying to either stay warm or cool, that's a big deal when doing the whole van conversion and living a van life, is being comfortable. So insulation on the walls, and then up on top and down at the bottom, we're using the pink insulation foam board. And that was just something for me that was super easy to do. I can attach double-sided tape on the foam board, stick them up, throw up my ceiling, screw it in, and you're good to go. So another use of heat is propane. The problem with that is, and everybody is super familiar with the little Mr. Buddy heater, is it can get quite expensive. So this 1 pound tank roughly costs $3 to $4 depending where you're at. And on the Mr. Buddy heater, it can last on full blast roughly 4 to 6 hours. Great for little get outs, you know, if you're camping in a tent, whatever it may be, you know, it may work out. But if you're planning on doing this as a weekend getaway or long term, this can get quite expensive. So another thing about the Mr. Buddy, or just using propane in general, is the condensation buildup. You're going to have a lot of condensation buildup throughout the night in your van. And again, long term, that can be a little bit of a problem. Now, going back to propane tanks, you can get this right here, which is a propane tank refill adapter. You attach it to your 20-pound tank, attach your 1 pound tank to this, and then you can refill your 1 pound tanks on the road if you're off grid, if you're not in a location to where you can go to your local store and buy more tanks. So that's another option you can do. So another thing why I don't recommend going with propane is just because carbon monoxide poisoning. So right here we are running carbon monoxide alarm, and the reason for that is simply because we're running a 2-burner propane stove. We hear a lot of stories of people jumping in their vehicles during the wintertime just to stay warm, and their carbon monoxide buildup in the car ends up killing them. So again, if you are running a Mr. Buddy heater in your van, make sure you roll down your windows just a little bit to let the air flow out, reduce carbon monoxide poisoning. So another thing you could do is go ahead and go with a nice sleeping bag. This is a 0 degree down bag by Kite and Bike, and it has been phenomenal. I've used it last month or so while camping, and it's been great. So best bang for your buck on that. Hopefully I'll get a video for you guys here in the near future. But something as simple as a sleeping bag, either a 0, maybe even -20, depending on where you live in the States, would be suitable. But also going back to wool. Wool is an amazing insulator. So wool blankets is the way to go. This last couple days, I-95 was backed up, and people were stuck in their vehicle for like 24 hours. So having something like either a sleeping bag or several wool blankets is going to be the way to go. Another thing you can do is Mylar blankets. Now this is great, again, in an emergency situation, but day to day, as you can tell, it's super loud. And then another option, as you can see, is running candles. Now, quite honestly, me particularly, I'm not the biggest fan of candles just because of the hazard of it. It does take a little bit longer to warm up your vehicle, but I'm just not comfortable sleeping through the night with a few candles going on. But this, again, is an amazing way to keep warm, really inexpensive, and maybe in an emergency situation, I would highly recommend it. And another option are heat packs. Now, the thing about this, yes, they can be inexpensive. They don't last very long. So emergency situation, yes, you can go ahead and crack one of these, throw it in your sleeping bag to keep you warm. It will get your core temp where it needs to be, but they won't last through the night. So, diving right into the actual unit. I wish I had an actual video of me installing it, but as you can see, we've got it mounted under the chair. I do have a small little fire extinguisher here just in case of emergency, and then we're running the wiring up on top to the LCD screen. So I can see you got your vent on the outside, which does rotate. Now the unit actually comes with two vents and a T from the exhaust, so you can run one here, you can run one on the other side, up on top, whatever the case may be, but one was quite suitable. And then over here, if you could see down in there, you do have a vent which goes to the unit. And then down at the bottom, which we'll get under the van here shortly, you have your intake and outtake exhaust. So up here on the actual LCD screen, it does run in Celsius. I think there's a way to change it to Fahrenheit. I'm not entirely sure. But there are a lot of different modes on here. I highly recommend just go ahead and YouTube a video of how to use this display. But so far, it has been phenomenal. And then it also comes with a little remote, which has an on-off switch, as well as a plus and minus to increase or bring down your temperature. Alright, so now moving under the sink, you can see back here we have the tank that it comes with. That's a 10-liter diesel tank. And if we move a few things around, not sure again if you can see back there, but that is the pump back here. A lot of folks will just go ahead and mount it to the floorboard of the van just because it gives quite a bit of vibration. But again, 10-liter diesel tank, and that'll last me roughly about a month and a half, depending on how much I use it. All right, so let's talk about how often I have to refill my tank. So the last time I filled up my tank was roughly a month and a half ago. Now, again, this is dependent on you, where you live, and how often you use your tank. I generally use my tank or my heater roughly 30 minutes to maybe an hour, 2 hours before I go to sleep. And then I'll leave it off the rest of the night. And then when I wake up, I'll run it for another 30 minutes or so. And it's been lasting me quite some time. So let's talk about costs. We have a receipt just for that. So here's the receipt of my last diesel transaction. As you could tell, I had 1.7 gallons just to top off the 2-gallon tank at a price of $3.39, which put me at a fuel sale of $5.96 just to fill the tank. You did this, Biden. You did this. So that about wraps it up on how I stay warm during the winter inside of my van. Go ahead and like and subscribe down below, and hopefully we'll get some more videos for you guys here in the near future. I'm Braddock. Y'all stay ready.